She was small, too small for her world, too quiet for her kind, in the galaxy of Thaler. Strength meant survival, power meant status, and beauty was measured by muscle. Speed and voice. Lyra had none of it. She was born into the proud race of Zirans. They were tall, bold, their skin shimmered with light. Their voices could command armies, but Lyra, she was barely the height of a human child. Her limbs were thin, her eyes too soft. She spoke in whispers, not in commands. From the moment she could walk, she was told what she was not. Not strong, not useful, not wanted. Her mother left early. Her father never claimed her. The Zyran males laughed when she stood in line with the others during pairing trials. She was always the last one standing, alone, rejected again and again and again. At first, she cried. Then she learned to hide the tears, but the ache in her chest stayed even when her people stopped talking to her, even when she was assigned to cleaning food stations, even when they said she was a burden still. She dreamed of something else, a hand to hold, someone who wouldn't flinch at her presence, someone who might ask how she feels. But in Zyran culture, love was earned through dominance. Affection was a show of strength, and Lyra had none to give. So when the Galactic Union arranged a ceremonial gift exchange between Zyrans and Earth's space fleet, her name was chosen, not as an honor, but as a joke. The Zyran officials smiled with pride, pretending they were offering a skilled cultural representative, but everyone on the homeworld knew the truth. They were sending away the one they didn't want. And so, Lyra stood in front of the human vessel, tiny, quiet, her hands folded, her head lowered, a small bag over her shoulder, her heart cold. She expected silence. She expected orders. She expected them to laugh too, but instead, a tall man stepped forward. His uniform was dark blue with silver bands. His eyes were calm, and he smiled. "Welcome aboard, Officer Lyra." That was the first time she heard her name spoken with respect. He didn't ask why she was sent. He didn't look confused by her size. He just reached out his hand and helped her step onto the ship. His name was Commander Alex Hayes, leader of the exploration vessel Terra 1. He'd seen many alien races in his life, but something about Lyra was different, not because she was small, not because she was quiet, but because she looked at the stars like they were singing to her from the first day. Alex treated her like a member of the crew. He introduced her to the others. He gave her a room, not a cargo box. He asked her what she liked to eat. She didn't know how to answer that. No one had asked before. The crew was curious about her. Some stared too long. Some ignored her, but no one pushed her away. She listened more than she spoke. She worked hard. She learned how the ship systems worked. She memorized human patterns and protocols faster than the computer could teach. Alex noticed. He always noticed. Sometimes he would pause outside the control deck and watch her quietly adjusting energy readings. Other times he would walk beside her in the halls and tell her stories of Earth. She loved those stories. They had trees that touched the sky. They had music that made people cry. They had oceans filled with mystery. And they had this strange thing called dancing, where people moved close and laughed together. She couldn't imagine that world, but Alex made it sound like a dream. One night, after a supply check, Lyra sat near the viewing window, her knees pulled to her chest. The stars outside looked colder than usual. Alex sat beside her. He didn't say anything at first, just looked at the same stars. Then he asked, "Do you miss home?" She didn't answer right away. After a long pause, she said, "They didn't want me there." Alex nodded slowly. "They don't know what they lost." Her heart jumped just a little. No one had ever said something like that to her. Not even close. He handed her a warm drink. It was sweet and soft. She held it carefully, like it might vanish if she blinked. Then he told her something she never expected. "You don't have to prove yourself here." Lyra stared at him. Her fingers trembled. Her voice was barely louder than a breath. "Why do you say that?" Alex looked into her eyes. "Because I already see you." The room felt different after that. Warmer, quieter, safer. That night Lyra lay in her bed. Her hand rested over her chest. There was a strange feeling inside. It wasn't pain. It wasn't fear. It was something soft, something light, something that made her want to smile, and she didn't know why, but deep inside, a tiny voice whispered, could this be what love feels like? She didn't know the answer, but for the first time in her life, she wanted to find out. The days passed quietly aboard Terra 1. Lyra moved through the ship like a shadow, polite, careful, always doing her tasks without complaint. She had been labeled a diplomatic gift, a symbol of friendship between two species. But gifts didn't fix electrical panels, gifts didn't organize ship data, gifts didn't learn human language in 2 weeks. Lyra did all of it, and she did it without being asked twice. The human crew started to notice at first. They whispered about her, the alien girl with eyes like a twilight sky, the one who fixed a water system leak before the engineers noticed it soon. Those whispers turned into greetings, then smiles, and eventually respect. Alex watched it all from the captain's deck. He saw how she avoided crowds, how she took her meals during off hours, how she always sat facing a wall, not because she was rude, but because she was afraid of being seen, afraid of being mocked again. He had seen that look before in the eyes of young soldiers, the ones who were told they didn't belong, the ones who carried invisible scars. So he made a decision one morning. During shift rotation, he called her name through the intercom. Officer Lyra, report to command deck. She arrived 5 minutes early, standing stiff near the door, eyes low, voice soft. Yes, Commander. Alex didn't give her an order. Instead, he handed her a data pad. I want your opinion on this. She blinked, slowly took the pad. On the screen was a map of the ship's energy circuits. Some parts were glowing too bright, others too dim. He waited, said nothing more. Lyra tilted her head, then gently adjusted the brightness, moved a few power links, balanced the core energy like an artist fixing color on a canvas. She handed it back without speaking. Alex smiled. That's better than what our chief engineer suggested. He paused. You've got sharp eyes. Her cheeks warmed. She looked down again, but this time, a small smile touched her lips. From that day forward, she became more than a gift. She became part of the team. They gave her a proper crew badge. Her name was engraved on it, Lyra. No last name, no title, just her. It meant more than she could explain. Soon, she was working on navigation routes, helping translate alien signals, even repairing drones in the ship's lower decks. Humans started asking her questions, real ones. They wanted her advice, her knowledge, her help, and she gave it freely, not because she had to, but because it felt good to be useful. One afternoon, while testing solar panels on the exterior wing, she slipped on the metal rail. Her safety harness snapped tight, but not before she scraped her shoulder. It stung, not badly, but enough to make her wince. Before she could speak, a hand reached out. Alex was there, pulling her back, holding her steady. His voice was calm but firm. You're not a drone, be careful. She nodded, then whispered, sorry. He shook his head. No, just don't scare me like that again. That night, he found her sitting by the viewing window again. This time he brought 2 drinks. She accepted without a word. They sat in silence, watching the stars. After a while he spoke. You remind me of my sister. Lyra turned toward him. He continued. She was quiet too, but sharp, braver than she looked. She passed away 5 years ago. Lyra said nothing, but her eyes softened. She listened, really listened. He looked at her. I think she would have liked you. Her chest tightened. Something gentle wrapped around her heart. The next day, a few crew members were laughing near the mess hall. Not cruel laughter, just light teasing. They were watching Earth videos on a portable screen, humans dancing at a wedding, spinning, jumping, laughing. Lyra stopped beside them. Curious, one of them noticed. Ever tried dancing? She shook her head. I don't know how. The group chuckled, not in a mean way. One of them reached out a hand. Come on, just for fun. She hesitated. Then, to her own surprise, she took the hand. The music played. She moved slowly, awkward at first. But the crew clapped, cheered, encouraged her. When she stumbled, someone caught her. When she laughed, someone laughed with her. It felt unreal, like floating, like living. Later that night, Alex met her in the training room. He saw her practicing the same dance steps alone. She froze when she saw him. He didn't say anything, just walked over, held out his hand. "May I?" She looked up, then placed her hand in his. They moved slowly, barely more than a sway. But her heart was beating fast. She didn't know what this feeling was, but she liked it. She liked the way he looked at her, not with pity, not with curiosity, but with warmth. Later, alone in her room, she stood in front of the small mirror, touched her cheek, and whispered, "They see me." But the joy didn't last long. 2 days later, a signal arrived from Zyron Command, encrypted. Urgent direct. Lyra was ordered to report back to Zyron territory. No reason was given, only coordinates. And the order was clear: return immediately. She stared at the message, fingers trembling, eyes wide. The same people who threw her away were calling her back. Why? Why now? She brought the message to Alex. He read it, then looked at her. "What do you want to do?" Her voice cracked. "I don't know." He nodded. "Then we wait until you do." But neither of them noticed that deep within the transmission, hidden in its code, was something darker, a signal, a tag, a tracker, and far away in the shadows of the galaxy, a Zyron ship changed its course, heading toward Terra 1, fast and silent. The stars outside Terra 1 looked the same, but something had changed inside Lyra. She no longer walked like a shadow. She walked like someone who had been seen, respected, accepted. The crew no longer treated her like a guest. She was part of the family now, and every day that strange warm feeling inside her chest grew stronger. She didn't know the name of it, but she felt it most when Alex smiled at her, when he sat beside her without saying a word, when he trusted her with something important. She started waking up early, just to be ready before him, just to feel prepared, just to be noticed by the one who made her feel human. That day began like any other. Lyra was scanning communication logs in the data room. She found something strange in the Zaren transmission. A second signal buried beneath the recall message. It was silent, invisible to most systems, but not to her. She had lived around Zaren tech all her life. She ran it through her translator, and her hands froze. It was a tracker, a location beacon active. Didn't want her back. They wanted to know where she was, who she was with. She rushed to Alex, explained what she found. He didn't panic, didn't shout. He simply nodded. Then ordered full system scans, ordered shields up, ordered stealth mode. "Whoever they are, they won't touch you." His voice was calm, but his jaw was tight. His fingers clenched into fists. He was angry, not at her, but for her. The crew followed his orders without question. They believed in him, and she believed in him too. That night, she couldn't sleep. She sat alone in the engineering bay. The machines hummed softly around her. She stared at her hands, small, shaking. She had brought danger to this ship, to these people. Alex found her there. She didn't look up, didn't speak. He sat beside her, didn't speak either. After a long silence, she said, "They're coming for me, and I don't know why." Alex looked at her, not with fear, not with pity, but with something deeper. "Because you're valuable now, they see that." She shook her head. "No, they want control. Not me. They never wanted me." He leaned closer. "Then they're fools, because I see you and I want you here." She blinked. Her breath caught. The words hit her harder than she expected. She whispered, "Why? I'm not strong. I'm not useful. You saved our ship twice this week." He answered, "You're more than useful. You're incredible." Lyra turned her face away. Her eyes burned. No one had ever called her incredible. She didn't cry, not then. But later, in the silence of her room, she let herself feel it, the fear, the gratitude, the longing. For the first time, she wondered, what if she belonged here, for real? But peace was not meant to last. 2 days later, a sensor alert echoed through the ship. Unregistered vessel approaching Zyren, design high-speed weapons armed. Alex called for battle stations. Lyra stood behind him on the command deck, her fingers tight around her sleeve. The Zyren ship sent a message, short, cold: "Return the female or face destruction." Lyra stepped forward. "I'll go. Maybe they'll leave if I surrender." Alex didn't turn. He didn't even look at her. "No." His voice was sharp, stronger than she had ever heard it. "You're not a thing they can take back. You're not theirs. You're ours now. You're mine." Those words echoed in her mind. "Yours, mine." The crew didn't blink, didn't question him. They stood their ground weapons ready, shields holding. But the Zyran ship didn't wait. A warning shot slammed against Terra 1's outer shell, not a full blast, but a clear threat. Lyra rushed to the systems panel. Her hands flew across the controls, redirecting energy, strengthening the shield field. The ship shook, sparks flew from the overhead panels. She turned to Alex. "We need to jam their targeting. I can do it from the engine core, but I need 2 minutes." He nodded. "Go." She ran through the corridors, heart pounding, alarms screaming in the engine room. She crawled into the vent lines, tiny fingers twisting wires, rewriting the code by memory, using both Zyran and human technology. Her body ached, her mind raced, but she finished it just in time. Back on the bridge, the enemy ship lost lock. Their weapons failed to aim, their systems glitched. Human crew roared in relief. Alex ordered a pulse wave. A blast of non-lethal energy pushed the Zyran ship back. It drifted, disabled, defeated. For now, Lyra returned to the deck, her face covered in soot, her hands burned. But Alex looked at her like she was made of stars. He walked to her, pulled her close, held her right in front of everyone. No one laughed. No one questioned it, because they all saw what he saw. Not a tiny alien, not a forgotten girl, but a warrior, a protector, a hero. Later that night, in the silence of the medbay, Lyra sat on the edge of the bed, Alex beside her. He held her hand. "I meant what I said. You're not theirs. You're home here with us, with me." She looked into his eyes, and for the first time she said something she never dared before. "I want to stay with you." He smiled, soft and real. "Then stay, but in the deep dark of space." The Zyran Council received the battle report. They had failed to bring her back, and worse, now she was bonded with a human, unacceptable, dangerous. They wouldn't try again. They would prepare for war. The air inside Terra 1 was still too still, even after the Zyran ship retreated, even after shields were lowered, even after the crew returned to normal duties. Alex didn't relax. Neither did Lyra. She kept checking the ship's long-range scanners over and over, looking for anything, a shadow, a signal, a whisper. She didn't trust the silence, not after what she had learned. She stood in the command deck, eyes focused, heart unsettled. Alex walked in. He had barely slept in 2 days, but his voice was calm. "They're watching us." Lyra turned toward him. "How do you know?" He looked at her and didn't blink. "Because I would." He sat beside her, opened the data logs together. They traced the signal history again. The tracker was still active, buried deeper now, moving from one system to another, like it was learning, adapting. Lyra's hands shook as she typed. "This isn't Zyran tech anymore. It's changed. It's hybrid. Now Zyran code mixed with human systems." Alex narrowed his eyes. "So someone on board is helping them." The word hit like thunder. Betrayal, not from outside, but from within. They ran diagnostics, checked logs, crossed crew activity timelines. It didn't make sense. Everyone had been cleared. Everyone had fought to protect her, unless someone was faking loyalty, playing both sides. Hours passed and still no clear answer. The tracker sent out a fresh pulse, different than before, activated something. Lyra's eyes widened. "It's not just tracking anymore. It's transmitting live feeds from our ship. It's showing them our layout, our routines, even our command orders." Alex stood up, his voice sharper now. "We're not just targets, we're being studied." He locked the ship down, sealed off external signals, tightened security, brought the crew together. He didn't hide the truth, didn't sugarcoat the threat. "There's a spy on board. Maybe not one of you, maybe something planted, but we will find it, and we will stop it." The crew listened, trusted him, and looked at Lyra with more concern than ever, not because they blamed her, but because they now understood what was at stake. That night Lyra sat alone in the observatory. The stars outside looked distant, like strangers. She had found something close to happiness, and now it felt like it was slipping away. Alex found her again, like he always did. He sat beside her, silent, present. After a while he asked, "Do you still want to stay, even with the danger?" She didn't answer right away, but when she did, her voice was steady. "Yes, because this is the first place I've ever been seen, and I won't run from that." He looked at her like she had just said something powerful, something true. They didn't touch. They didn't speak after that. The silence between them was no longer empty, it was full of trust. The next morning, they followed the tracker's path again. Lyra traced its energy line back to the engineering bay, specifically to a repair drone she had modified weeks ago, her own project. She ran to it, opened the casing, and saw a tiny black chip. Not from any known human or Xeran tech, something else. She lifted it carefully, hands trembling. This wasn't just a bug, it was a living piece of adaptive code, something designed to evolve, to think, to betray. Alex watched as she held it up. This was on our ship for weeks, growing, watching, learning. Lyra's voice shook. I used this drone to clean the air vents, to fix coolant pipes. It saw everything, every corner, every system, even the command deck. The realization hit her like a wave. I brought it in. I thought I was upgrading the drone, but I was feeding the enemy. She looked at Alex, waiting for judgment, but he didn't blame her. He just stepped forward and placed a hand gently on her shoulder. This wasn't your fault. You saved us more than once, and you're going to save us again. She wanted to believe that, so she turned back to the drone, plugged the chip into an isolated terminal, and started decrypting the code. What she found shocked her: a full 3D map of Terra. 1 current crew locations, recent command decisions, and one more thing: a countdown, 12 hours remaining until a coordinated Xeran attack. Not just one ship this time, a fleet. Alex stood behind her, reading every line, every number. He didn't flinch, didn't hesitate. He turned on the comm system. All crew, prepare for emergency protocol. We are under active threat. We have 12 hours. No one panicked. They trusted their commander. And they trusted Lyra, because when she stood beside Alex, she didn't look small anymore. She looked ready. Together, they began rerouting the ship's power, moving vulnerable systems to backup networks, changing access codes, activating cloaking layers that hadn't been used in years. But deep inside, Lyra felt something she couldn't ignore. This wasn't just about the ship. This was about her. The Xerans weren't attacking because of strategy. They were attacking because of pride, because she had chosen something else, someone else, a human. They were coming to erase her, to erase the choice she made, to erase the feeling she had begun to understand. But she wouldn't let them. Not now. She walked into the storage bay, opened the container holding her old Xeran gear. The one she had hidden since the day she arrived. Inside was a crystal, a small, glowing piece of her planet, used for deep code linking. It could communicate across light years. It could also hijack signals, redirect enemy systems. If used correctly, it was her last link to the world that rejected her, and maybe it was her final key to saving the one that accepted her. She took it, held it tightly, then looked up. I won't be your pawn anymore. And somewhere in the black sky beyond the ship, the enemy ships closed in, unaware that the girl they called weak was about to become the greatest threat they had ever faced. 12 hours, that was all they had before the Xeran fleet arrived. Alex stayed on the command deck, eyes fixed on the tactical display. Every movement, every update, every system check passed through him. He gave orders calmly, but Lyra saw it in his shoulders, in his eyes. He was carrying the weight of every soul aboard Terra 1. She didn't waste time. While the crew prepared escape pods and backup systems, she worked in the signal room. The Xeran crystal in her hand pulsed with energy. It was old tech, ancient, but still powerful. She placed it into the main terminal. The ship's lights flickered for a moment. Then everything went quiet. The stars outside dimmed, the engines paused, then restarted in low hum. She wasn't just linking systems. She was hijacking the code running through the chip the spy had planted. She had studied Xeran frequencies for years. She knew how they thought, how they programmed, and how to rewrite it. All this time, she wasn't hiding from her past. She was using it. Across the ship, monitors lit up. The Xeran fleet positions appeared, their flight paths, their timing, their blind spots. Alex walked in, saw the map forming on the screens. He didn't speak at first. He just looked at her, and then, "You're rewriting The war, Lyra didn't turn, her fingers kept moving. No, I'm finishing it before it begins. She used the crystal to bounce false readings. Redirect energy spikes masked Terra 1's position. Now the enemy fleet believed they were heading toward an unarmed science station, not a combat-ready human vessel. Not a ship prepared to fight, and definitely not a ship carrying someone like her, but there was a problem. The crystal was overheating. The signal was breaking down. To finish the loop, she would have to plug it directly into the ship's core. That meant crawling into the fusion tunnel. No protective field, no safety shield. Only raw power and radiation. Alex realized it too. You can't go in there, it'll kill you. Lyra looked at him. Her voice was soft but steady. If I don't, they'll kill everyone. He stepped forward, eyes full of something deeper than command. You don't need to prove anything. Not to them, not to anyone. Not to me. She smiled, a real one, the kind that carried pain and peace together. I'm not doing this to prove, I'm doing it to protect. She turned and ran toward the core chamber. Alex followed her. He didn't stop her, but he didn't leave her alone either. When she reached the access panel, he opened it for her. 15 minutes, that's all you've got before this chamber floods with radiation. She nodded, climbed in. The heat was already rising. Her hands moved fast. Sparks flew, wires twisted, the crystal glowed brighter. The moment she plugged it in, the ship shook, power surged, and then silence. The signal was complete. Tezzeret ships now saw a false location. They adjusted course, just as planned, but Lyra didn't move. Alex called to her. No answer. He climbed in after her, pulled her out with shaking hands. Her skin was hot, breathing, shallow eyes half closed. Carried her to the med bay, sprinted through the hall's. Crew members stepped aside. Some called out, some followed inside the med bay. Alex placed her gently on the bed. The doctor began scans. Vitals dropping, radiation burn, nerve damage, internal bleeding. Alex stood beside her, holding her hand. She was still conscious, barely. You didn't have to do this. She looked at him, and for the first time, he saw fear in her eyes. Not fear of pain, but fear of leaving. I didn't want to disappear, not before I told you. He leaned closer. I'm here, I'm not going anywhere, Lyra whispered. I think I love you. Even if I don't fully understand it, I know that when I look at you, I feel whole, and I've never felt that before. Tears filled his eyes, but he didn't let them fall. Instead, he leaned in, pressed his forehead gently to hers. I love you too. I knew it the moment you started correcting my engine reports. A soft laugh escaped her lips, weak but real. Then her body went still. Monitors beeped faster. The doctor pushed Alex aside. Emergency healing units engaged. But it wasn't enough. The Zyran crystal had helped save the ship, but now only a Zyran healing core could save her. Alex knew what that meant. They didn't have one on board. Only one place in the galaxy had it. Zyran Prime, the same world that rejected her. The same world that sent ships to destroy her. Alex made his decision before the doctor could even finish his sentence. He stood up, called to navigation. Plot a course to Zyran space, full speed, no stealth. The crew stared. Commander, that's suicide. He didn't blink. We're not going to war. We're going to save her. The ship turned engines. Roared. Terra 1 became a blur of speed through the void in her room. Lyra lay unconscious, a machine helping her breathe. But in the stillness, her fingers moved slightly. Her chest rose and fell, slow but steady. Somewhere in her mind, she heard his voice. I'm coming back for you, no matter what it takes. And far away on the cold, proud world of Zyran Prime, the elders watched the human vessel approach. Alarms blared. Defense systems activated, but none of them expected what was coming. Not an attack, not a threat, just a man who was willing to face a planet to save one tiny alien girl. Because she wasn't a gift, she wasn't a tool, she wasn't a mistake, she was his. Zyran Prime was a planet of cold glass towers and silent skies. The buildings rose like swords from silver ground. Everything was perfect, everything was quiet. But that day, the silence broke. A human ship was approaching at high speed. No invitation, no warning. Terra 1 inside the ship. Alex stood on the command deck, his hands behind his back, his eyes steady. He wasn't here to ask, He was here to take back what mattered most. Lyra still unconscious, still breathing, but weaker by the hour. The ship entered Zyran orbit. Defensive systems locked on. Laser cannons hummed. Missiles armed. A voice came through, sharp, flat, unfeeling. You are trespassing in Zyran space. Leave now or be destroyed. Alex responded with one sentence. I'm here for the girl you threw away. Silence followed, then the voice returned. She was never yours to keep. Alex didn't lower his head, didn't change his tone. She chose to stay with us. Now I'm choosing to fight for her. Inside the medbay, Lyra stirred, her mind swimming between dreams and memory. She saw faces from her past, the cruel stares, the laughter, the loneliness. Then she saw Alex standing in the fire. Reaching for her, she opened her eyes, weak but awake. The doctor leaned over her. You should rest, your body's under strain. But she sat up slowly, every muscle aching, every breath heavy. Where are we? The doctor hesitated. Zyran orbit. The commander brought us here. He's demanding access to healing crystals for you. Lyra blinked. Her lips trembled. He came here alone for me. She stood, her legs shook. But she didn't fall. I need to see the council now. The crew protested. The doctor blocked the door, but she walked past them, step by step, pain in every movement, but purpose in every breath. When she entered the command deck, the crew turned, surprised, moved. Alex turned last, his eyes widened. Lyra, you're awake. You shouldn't be walking. She stepped forward, stood in front of the screen where the Zyran council watched. Silently, her voice was cracked, but strong. I will return to the surface alone. Let me speak to them face to face. Alex frowned. That's not safe. I won't let you go back to them. She looked at him, eyes soft but unshaken. I'm not going back. I'm finishing what they started, my way. For the first time, my choice. Alex paused, then nodded. He handed her a small communicator, his voice low. If anything goes wrong, call me. I'll bring the whole ship down to get you back. An hour later, Lyra stood on the Zyran council platform alone, small but different than before. No longer afraid, no longer begging. The council sat high above. 12 members in silver robes, their faces unreadable. The center elder leaned forward. Why have you returned? Lyra looked up. To ask for what you owe me. Gasps filled the chamber. You left me behind. You rejected me. You used me as a tool. Now the life you threw away is one you need. She stepped forward. I have proof. A Zyran fleet attacked Terra 1 without approval. They implanted spy tech in a human vessel. They broke council law and almost killed the only person who ever saw me as more than a mistake. The elders looked at each other. Whispers filled the hall. The central voice returned. What do you ask in return? Lyra took a deep breath. I want the healing core, not as a gift, but as justice. You tried to destroy me, and I survived. The chamber fell silent. Then from the far right, an elder stood. He was old, his eyes clouded, but his voice was clear. She speaks with fire, let her be heard. He stepped down, walked to her, held out a small glowing crystal. You were born small, but became something far greater. Take this and leave this place forever. You owe us nothing, and we deserve nothing from you. Lyra took the crystal, her fingers closed around it, and with it her old chains broke. She turned, walked away, not rushed, not scared, free, back on Terra. One Alex waited outside the ship ramp, eyes locked on the horizon. Then he saw her walking through the gray mist alone, but taller than he remembered. She held up the crystal. He didn't speak. He just ran to her, held her tight. You came back. I never left. Inside the medbay, the healing core glowed. Lyra laid back, eyes closing as energy wrapped around her body. Her heartbeat grew stronger. Her color returned. Her pain faded. She opened her eyes. Alex was still there, holding her hand. I told you I would save you. She smiled. No, we saved each other. That night the crew celebrated. Quietly, not loud, not wild, but with warmth. They didn't cheer because she lived. They cheered because she chose to live with them. In the quiet of the viewing deck, Alex and Lyra sat side by side, watching the stars. So what now? Lyra looked at him. Now We fly where no one owns me, where no one fears you, where we choose our path. He reached for her hand, and this time, she didn't hesitate because she had fought, she had chosen, and she had won. The stars moved slowly outside Terra 1, quiet, peaceful for the first time in her life. Lyra didn't feel like she was floating through emptiness. She felt grounded, not by walls, not by duty, but by the people around her. Her wounds were healing her. Strength returning, but something even deeper had changed. She no longer looked at herself with shame. Now, she looked in the mirror and saw someone who had survived. Someone who had chosen her own path. She stood on the bridge beside Alex's crew members. Moved around them, talking, laughing, working. She wasn't invisible anymore. She wasn't a guest. She was family. The crew had even added her name to the ship's wall. Right below the commander's two names side by side, Alex watched her as she adjusted. The new power relay system. She worked with ease now. Confidence in every motion. You know, you've become the heart of this ship. Lyra glanced at him, a smile forming. I thought you were the heart. He laughed. Maybe we share the role. The glanced at him, a smile forming. I thought you were the heart. He laughed. Maybe we share the role. Moment felt light, but it wouldn't last long. An alert came through. Not danger, not warning, but a message from Zyron Prime. Alex opened the transmission. Lyra stood beside him, watching. The council appeared on the screen, serious, calm, but not hostile. The elder who had given her the crystal was speaking. Lyra, we watched the footage from Terra 1. Your words have echoed through our cities. Our young ones speak your name not as a mistake, but as a symbol. She didn't answer right away then. I didn't do it for praise. The elder nodded. That is why it matters more. You have done what no warrior could. You changed our image of humanity. You reminded us that strength isn't only in muscle, but in courage and love. Lyra blinked slowly. The words still felt new, still fragile, but it was real. Now the elder continued. We wish to open new talks with Earth as equals, and we would like you to represent us. The crew glanced at Lyra, waiting for her reply, but she stepped forward, her voice calm, strong. I'll speak for both, as long as I never have to choose between them again. I'm not just Zyren, I'm not just a member of Terra 1, I'm both, because this ship, this crew, gave me what you never did. She turned slightly toward Alex. A home. The council went quiet, then the elder bowed his head. Then we will listen. The screen went dark. Silence filled the room for a moment. Then Alex clapped his hands together. Well, looks like we just got ourselves a new ambassador. The crew cheered. Lyra looked around, still getting used to being the center of celebration. But this time she didn't hide that night. The stars outside were brighter, or maybe she was just seeing them differently. She stood alone in the observation deck. Watching. Alex walked in quietly, stood beside her. You didn't have to speak for them. She nodded. I didn't, but if there's one thing I've learned, it's that no one grows in silence. Not even them. He looked at her, his voice softer. You changed them. You changed all of us. She turned toward him, eyes searching his. I changed because of you. He shook his head. No, I just saw you. You did the rest on your own. The air between them was quiet again, but this time it wasn't heavy. It was warm. Lyra took a slow breath. I used to think love was something that belonged to the strong, the perfect, the loud ones. Alex waited. She continued. But now I know. Love doesn't care about size or silence. It finds you even in the dark. He reached out, held her hand. And when it does, you don't let go. She nodded and leaned her head on his shoulder. They stood like that, two figures under starlight. No more war, no more fear, just peace. Days turned to weeks. Lyra led new missions, met with alien leaders, spoke on behalf of two worlds, bridging trust, building hope, not as a tool, not as a gift, but as herself. She was no longer the girl rejected by every male on her planet. She was the voice that changed a galaxy, and through it all, Alex was there, not behind her, not ahead, beside her. One day, while flying past a ringed planet, she looked at him. I used to think I was small, too small for anyone to notice. He smiled. You're the biggest thing that's ever happened to this crew. And to me. Lyra didn't look away. Then promise me one thing. Anything. No matter what happens, no matter where we go, we stay a team, we stay a home. Alex took her hand, held it tight. Always somewhere across the stars children on. Zirin Prime now played a game called Terra Flight, their favorite character. A tiny alien girl with fire in her voice and stars in her eyes. They didn't laugh at her. They wanted to be her, because legends aren't born perfect. They are made by those who choose love, even when it's hard, even when they've been broken. And Lyra, the girl once thrown away, became the name whispered in stories, not as a mistake, not as a gift, but as the one who chose and was chosen in return.